You push the start, then you,
Okay, how about now? If you can hear me, somebody just give a thumbs up.
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So let me repeat this again. Good evening tonight. Today is August 9th, 2023. This is the meeting of the Police Accountability Board for Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm going to, call the meeting to order at 6:42. I'm going to take the roll. If you are in person, just say present. If you are attending the meeting virtually, please say present virtually. Ms. Bryant?
Here. Present.
Thank you. Dr. Coleman?
Present.
Mr. James?
Present virtually.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Melton?
Present.
Mr. O'Neill?
Present.
Mrs. Ridley? Not here yet. Mr. Sanchez? He's absent. Ms. Springs? Mr. Vergamini? And Kelvin is present. Okay, we have a quorum, so we can get started. Next up on the agenda, is the approval of the minutes. We do have a copy of the minutes in front of you. So can you, if you didn't have an opportunity to review them before, can you review them real quick? And then I'll give you 2 minutes to review them, and then we'll go ahead and take a vote. Alright.
Hi. How are you? Hello, everyone.
Oh, hey.
You look lovely in
No,
your
he's not
pink.
here. We saved it for you. Come on.
I don't want to put the camera, I was good. We
So-
wanted you up here.
Right here, Ms. Springs is here. Ms. Ridley is here. Okay.
Pretty as pink with a little green. You know I'm loving it.
You're making it happen, huh?
That made me smile.
We can review in a minute real quick, just get a chance to review. Okay. So, we'll go ahead, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes?
That we accept the minutes?
Okay. Motion to accept the minutes made by Mrs. Bryant.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Melton. All in favor of, accepting the minutes of July 26th meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, the minutes are approved.
Mr. Chair, absent the ability to review those, I would like my vote to be captured as an abstention.
Okey dokey. Did you get that? Okay, great, thank you.
They were just sending it to me now. I didn't know he wasn't coming.
Oh, okay. 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 So we do that. So moving on to old business. Next up. Marva Joe?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back, if you all would just look at this, I had made a commitment at the last meeting, over there, to do, I had given you all at the last meeting action items from each one of our minutes, and I had it in one format last time, so I changed the format that I wanted you all to see. I hope it's a little easier. It has the action item, the date initiated, the responsible person, the due date, and the status. And so what we will do is, the green part is those things that have been completed. And as we move down, we will remove those things as they are completed.
Okay.
So, for example, I put in, if you could update this, and so will I, the draft prologue, which was, done, to be done by Danny, is completed, so you can put completed as opposed to pending. And, so next time when you get this action item sheet, it won't have this at all, okay? Because all of the ones on this date have been, completed. And please, if you wouldn't mind just going through them, seeing when you have committed to do something. I'm hoping this will help you all keep up with it.
I have a comment. So there's the subcommittee review of the disciplinary matrix and
Which
comment.
page are you on?
Page 1.
Oh, okay.
Subcommittee review, it's page 2.
Oh, right here at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, page 2 is bottom.
Mhm.
So, first of all, I will be out of town on that day. My travel was rescheduled. I was supposed to be gone today. Anyway, we were supposed to review the cases, so will those cases be made available?
I think if I'm correct, they've already been made available.
They're in the,
They're in
there
Teams
already.
environment.
Okay.
We had a problem with Teams today, we tried to test it and stuff, and then the security and there were some issues, but all the cases have been put in the Teams environment. I put a folder that has, labeled cases with discipline posts, so all the discipline cases that we have thus far are in that folder.
It's been as of today or was before? I mean, wait, you just put them in a day or what?
Maybe yesterday?
Oh, 'cause I was looking for the other day.
Okay.
I just-
So, and in this case, you all have it till September 13th.
Right. Yes, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but they.
Yeah, I think it was.
But they're in there as of today, right?
As of today, they're
Okay,
in
so
there.
we're good.
I can't remember the exact
Okay,
day,
so-
whether it was yesterday or the day before.
So Mr. Melton, Mr. James, and I will set a date to meet.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so if there's another, those are the ones I came up with. If you all have another column that you think would help in this process, it was really just a way to pull things out from the agenda, the minutes, so you didn't have to always go back in there to find out what the action items were.
Okay.
Any, and I did wanna highlight, and I know Mr. Chair's gonna do it, but one of them on here, on second page, was to, ask staff to review, or you gonna go into that, to review the May 26th, 23.
Oh, yeah, I'll talk
Okay.
about that, yeah.
Okay, so if you would, everything is here as I know it. If you all want to, going forward, if you see something that's missing, I don't have a problem with y'all looking through the minutes and we can add it.
I think I heard you say, we wouldn't see those things that were completed, but I just wanted to check it, and just to clarify if that meant, once it's completed, you'll remove it altogether, and then,
Yeah, so, yeah.
anything active will be remaining, but
Mhm.
everything completed will be gone.
Yeah, so like on this page, you'll see it the first day it's completed, to see that it's completed, and then it'll go off, because it will have discussed it, and then we'll move on. But I'm certainly, open to another way. Again, I was just really trying to find a way to help the board.
Which brings to mind another question, like, we have a lot of things on our strategic action plan. How are we gonna maintain capturing what we've completed, right? So let's say, for example, we wanna do 5 of something throughout the year. Where are we gonna keep? All right, we did 3 so far, just so we have a running list of accomplishments.
And we're getting ready, I think that's next on the list,
Oh, okay.
strategic plan, so we can talk about what way would be most useful. I was gonna do something similar for that.
Okay.
But is it okay to move?
So, yeah, when you're done with that, I do want to, check to see if there's anybody that is, in our waiting room or any guests, as well too. So, are you done with this?
I'm done with this one, we were getting started.
Okay, so, real quick, I just wanna know, do we have anybody that's, that is viewed, that is a guest? If so, if you'd like to, come off mute and introduce yourself. None? Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, okay, Mama Jo, sorry.
Okay, so I believe that the final draft, we're just kind of going through it to make sure we've crossed T's and dotted I's. I think, Denise, if Monday would be when it would be available for you all to review for the next meeting. So Monday is if we can put that date, it'll be,
Oh, Monday, let's see. Monday is the 14th.
okay, you will have by the 14th, the draft strategic plan for you all to review to make sure it reflects what you all, discussed, and make any comments, because then we get to the next part of the actual implementation. But to Mr. Melson's point, is this format something that would work for you as well, or do you want it a different way? I can do the same kind of strategic plan checklist and who's responsible and when it's completed, without, in that case, taking anything off. It would stay on. Does that work for you?
Yeah, it works for me.
Okay, does that work for everybody else? Okay, so, I'm really basic, so I might work with the staff to make it look cuter than what mine does, 'cause I worked really hard at this little thing to get this little bit that I got. So, anyway, so we'll do the same thing for the strategic plan.
With regard to the long-term strategic plan, once we get the, short-term one, I presume that we'll assign a committee to work on this.
I think that's what Mr. Chair had indicated before.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the strategic plan other than the date it's due and what we'll do as a follow-up measure? Okay, then the next one is the transmittal, of the PAB recommendations that you already did. We drafted those, they will be transmitted. We have drafted for Chairman's review a very short transmittal letter that takes it to the county council and the, county executive. And it's ready, right, for transmittal.
Yeah, I think,
Mhm.
Yes,
Yep.
to
to
Mr.,
both of you.
to the chair. So those were the ones y'all saw already. But any questions on that? And we will get you a copy of the transmittal letter. As I said, it's about that long. And that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next up is, access to ACC.
I'm sorry. You also note in here, I apologize, I made reference to it, but these were the responses that were requested of Mr. Bennett, IG Bennett. There were 2 questions with regard to, contacting the complainants after final disposition of complaints, and whether or not the, complainants were notified of an officer's request, for a trial board, and those were his responses. So those have been provided to you as well, and will be updated on the action plan. I apologize.
No worries, thank you. And that was next up on my pile too. Access to ACC cases.
That's me. All the cases have been put into the secured environment. We have several folders. One that has cases that we've actually gone through and done policy checks. And, then the other folder are the cases that have disciplinary action, which I mentioned before, so it's easy for your subcommittee to know that they have a disciplinary action. Because before you said you want to randomly pick them, so I just put them all in there, so you can randomly pick whatever you want. We had an issue today, again, with security. The environment we're trying to set up is to secure the files so that you can't forward them, copy them, or download. And that is posing some problems for IT. So we were able to put all the files in there, but when you go to look at some of the files, you can't access them. So now we're trying to work around it. You can access all the document files except the PDF files. So we're trying to work that out now. But for the cases, for some of the cases, some of the files are Word files that you can actually read. files that you won't be able to see. But, in lieu of trying to wait until we resolve all the issues, we wanted to give you some, some of the cases that you can actually look at.
So that's as of today, we got that?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That's as of today, we can look at these cases?
Yes, as of today, look
And
at,
we can only see it on this computer, on the
on your county issue.
county, okay.
Is it like a Teams file?
Yeah, it's in the environment that says, I think it says PB board members, I believe. And it's, cases reviewed, and the file has a little lock next to it.
So will you have to enter?
You don't have to, you do not have to enter passwords to access the file. That's why we had to put in this environment. We had you all, give you access to this environment so that you can look at these cases. But again, the problem is when you're trying to look at certain file types, it's protected.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to figure out, not we, there's enough, but OIC is trying to figure out how to get around this so you can actually access these files without going through 35 different steps to do so. Yes, sir.
Now, is that the reason you told us to bring our computers today?
Yeah, I was gonna show you how to actually get to the file.
Okay.
We're ready to do it until we started going through it and read into some problems.
Oh, okay. We won't be able to do it today.
You can get into that environment and you can look at some of the files, but we ran into problems where we could not look at every file. And I didn't realize that was going to be such a major issue. But that was why I had you bring your computer, so we could walk through the steps on how to actually get in there, look at the files and manipulate and do things that you need to do to get the information you want from those files.
So that'll be the next meeting to walk through.
We'll do it now, she said. We ain't gonna do it today.
No,
Okay,
next time.
all right.
You were ready.
Yeah, he was.
Don't we bring the computer?
That's right.
But it would be a good idea going forward if you would bring your computer with you
Okay,
to each meeting so that you can access them or discuss them when need be.
Okay, that was it, Denise?
That's it.
Great, okay. Next up on the agenda is new business. ACC recommendations. There were some recommendations from the ACC that we're going to send over to the PAB. So Denise, would you want to talk about that? Well, first of all, Denise, we do have that, so, we'll just go ahead and send that out to everybody. Can you send those recommendations out to the board, please? Take a look at that. All right, next up on our agenda, it will be the proposed PAB data point. That is going to be Dr. Coleman and Tangi. So you guys have the floor.
So, you did a really good job, thank you, of taking the data points that we had, I think discussed a couple of meetings ago, and those data points came from that spreadsheet, I think that Denise had that, where it was tiny print, and then some of the, points that are on the PAB website. So we took those, and she put them in the spreadsheet, thankfully for me, and so we put those in, and then I added 2 extras. So the ones that I added were the police officer's rank and his or her years on the force and in service. So, I'm trying to access it through this email, but I can't.
It's up on the screen.
Oh, it's on the screen, thank you. So you all can see, these are the data points that we, have come up with so far. If any of you all, have any suggestions, just, please let us know. And, one of the things is that these are a lot of data points, these are a lot of points. And so we wanna, if there are more that you think that we need that are not there, maybe we can add, up to 3, but this is a lot of information. And so at some point when this stuff starts to really get filled in more, we'll have to analyze this, and so I would caution about adding too many more data points, this is a lot, already. So there was some information that what was the data point that we could not add because we couldn't get that data consistently, was that the date?
That, it was presented to the ACC.
Yeah, that's right, okay, so the date that it was presented to the ACC, we didn't think that we could get that data consistently, so we didn't add that one. based on the recommendations that we had, a couple meetings ago. So as you can see at the bottom, you'll see the case type and then the categories that were on the PAB website, like I said. So, hopefully this will start to yield some good information for our reports and anything else, that we might need. And so, yeah, looking forward to getting more filled in so we can dig in.
Right.
Can you, bring it back to the beginning?
Sure.
So does it have the, go over to
Yeah, first and last name, number, jurisdiction, division,
Oh,
charge,
just
case
position,
type.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Does it say whether there's an appeal?
No. Okay. Yes.
Or maybe it should be final disposition, because after the appeal, maybe.
Yeah, final. Mhm. Sure.
An investigator is that police agency investigator, that goes there.
Mhm.
We won't know whether the ACC had to do it. That may not be relevant.
No, I don't think so, right? And I don't know how we would capture,
It would still come under the ACC disposition, correct?
The ACC.
Yeah, they could say investigated and concurred with or something like that. Maybe we should make sure that there are categories so it'll be consistent. You know what I mean?
And I think maybe some of the data points, you can also put a legend. So if you can put something in blue or an asterisk
Okay.
beside it, yeah. It's a great mind. Oh, I'm telling you.
That's all I'm saying, instead of adding just
Right, for the
what you
national,
had,
yeah.
yeah.
Because I think those are all great, yeah.
I do have a question for the board for you guys to consider. So the case types are right here,
Mm-hmm.
and should they also come in line with the categories that are on the PAB website? So for consistency purposes, when we start filling this in, and we have to put up here, what the charge was, you see how we have conduct on this side, attention to duty, but we have attention to duty on both.
Mhm.
So do we wanna stick with what's already been published online on the website and then get rid of these? I think these are what the former, board used, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, those 9 categories from the 9 of them, it should be 9. No. I provided you all with, a couple of weeks ago, a list of the categories that the CCSP used to capture data, and there were 9 categories. And what we did was we took, a lot of allegations and just put them, assign them in certain categories. Because depending upon how a jurisdiction classifies, like an attention duty may be failure to attend to duty, it may be lack of it may be called something else. So we just came up with categories that you could put these things, these 9 categories that captured everything that happened. And I think that's still a good idea, because these jurisdictions call allegations different things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on their nomenclature.
We should probably stick with what's on the website.
Well, absolutely.
Is there anything on this left-hand category that you want placed over
moved
here?
over.
Well, she said
How
nine,
about
it's
the
only 8
bias
up there.
one?
Bias harassment?
Yeah. Does
I
everybody agree?
think it's 8 up there, unless
Oh,
you.
you know what, I can enlarge this for you guys.
Yeah, I was
Thank
getting
you.
ready to say. I thought it was just myself. I didn't want to be the first one to say anything.
Because I couldn't see a
B. Well, I'll
Oh,
put it right.
all right, Mr. James, you had a question, sir?
Thank you, I appreciate that. The question that you all are going over, with the case types and the categories, that was one of the questions that I had. The second one, Dr. Coleman, it's a lot of data points, and I had a question about the charges, because in some of the things we looked at, there may be several charges related to one case. Let's say it's a half a dozen. Is that gonna be problematic when there could be several scenarios for that one case? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
No, it makes total sense. Maybe what we can do, and this is what I was thinking when I was looking at this, is maybe we can do some, like a drop-down box and
Mhm.
have those in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So then you can choose
Yeah,
as
you go-
many
right.
as you want.
Yeah.
So to, hopefully that goes to what you were saying, Mr. James. So say it's conduct, ethics, and use of force for one person, like, okay. But maybe it is, so then maybe we could just put a drop-down, and so when we check those boxes and then add those
Great,
to there.
great. right person in the right place.
So the field would expand up,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that.
Perfect. And then the other question had to do with kind of the, I can't remember the exact heading. It has to do with like years of service. And I just wanted to make sure, because one of those things, I think Marvin Joe pointed out to us at the last meeting, you know, their years in service, I just want to make sure it's relevant to with that agency or in totality, because they may have only had 2 years of service with X agency, but they may have more in total years. And so that may be something to make sure we have the right information that's going in there too.
Yeah, that's good. I think total years, because I think from sort of a data perspective, what I was thinking about is that we want to know, like, if, you know, with someone who's having issues and they've only been, you know, in total service for 2 years versus someone who's been there for 25. So, that's where I was thinking. I don't know,
We know
going
that,
after
though?
you all, would you want to know whether it's at, say, Bowie Police Department, if they've been there 2 years versus they've been, you know, in Greenbelt another 10 years?
Well, like they've been in, Prince George's police and then was 10 years and then went to be a Morningside police.
Correct.
Something like that.
Right. Do you want to split that
So
up?
how would we get that information out?
Yeah, how do you get that information?
Yeah.
I was gonna actually ask the chair, when you, review the cases in ACC, is that information provided, how long someone has been?
Yes,
An officer's rep,
Yes.
Okay.
certified.
yeah, we usually can request that information and they have it printed out, so yes.
And when you get that information, is it years in service or years on that force?
It tells you each force that they've been
Okay.
a part of.
Oh, okay, it'll tell you exactly how long they've, so,
Yeah.
got it.
No, go.
One of the things I was interested in capturing for context is repeat offenders. So if we run their name, it's only gonna capture how many they've done since we started this form. But if there's a way for us to sort of put that in every time we do see that.
You mean in moving forward?
Yeah.
Oh,
moving
yeah,
forward.
okay.
But if we can look back, I don't know if that's possible.
That would be difficult.
Isn't it
Yeah,
the same thing?
Okay.
because we would have to yes, ma'am.
I'm getting a message that says, total years of service is not a category that's typically tracked by department.
Okay.
So, but we said, so for instance, if like in Mr. O'Neill's situation, you worked 10 years PD for Prince George
Right.
and another 10 years for Morningside, it wouldn't say that. It would just say how long with this department. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But getting back to what he said, now, if a person comes up with a complaint, wouldn't that department have a data if he's been, had another complaint like a year before that?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Should we
for
make,
us to pull it, you're saying it's
Now,
difficult.
I would think that it would be a tough ask, simply because some of these departments don't have the staff to go back and review the cases. They may go back 25 and 30 years, depending on how long the office has been there. So that is a tremendous amount of data, and then we have to input it as well.
Right.
Yes. Mr. James? Mr. James?
But maybe we can't add.
I was just gonna say, I would bring up that just as this board did, so that's what I was thinking. We can't add it just because, nothing, that predates when this board came into existence.
All right, Mr. Jones?
I think, one, I wanted to comment on the total years. I think it would be useful to see where they served in addition to that. I think, part of data tracking and looking at it is also seeing, like, if they're hopping around or, why they might be moving, that might be something that's taken note of.
So I think, and again, that's a good point, but I think that, again, that goes to the legend, and we can put something down there, prior law enforcement experience in another jurisdiction or something like that, put an asterisk or a Y or something to identify that they will be, because if we just keep adding stuff, then it'll become, because my thought process is that for the ones that aren't that common, we would then put maybe something in the legend to identify. Because if we put something that is not that common, just as a data point, then we'll be kind of just overloading things. That's just my thought. Did that answer your question, though, Mr. Jones?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
on the category, I saw the domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm thinking domestic violence, is that his wife complaining or his boyfriend or whoever, you know what I mean, complaining, I mean,
I think that would fall under unbecoming conduct,
what?
domestic violence,
Oh, okay.
coming off, that would fall under unbecoming conduct.
And should it be unknown? Is there a unknown, know the instance where
Is this unknown meaning, like, when?
I've never seen unknown.
is that on the website?
Who makes those distinctions?
As far as what the actual charge is,
So, yeah, like, if I put the complaint in, do I get the option of defining it, or
Oh,
does that
no.
come based on a review of what was there, and then that's assigned?
so
by
that's
the
that's
ACU?
probably a question for one of the investigators who does that, but I mean, I could send that, but, Marva Joe, you have experience with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure which it is, so we
Yeah.
would have to check.
Okay, so if you're inputting the data, you would go to the report from the investigator, correct? And they wouldn't have a unknown, or would they submit a complaint with the unknown?
No. I haven't seen unknown.
Right, exactly, yeah, so I don't think we should have unknown.
Well, so is that not already on the website?
Oh,
Isn't
we
it
can
on there
change
because,
that though, right?
I'm assuming it was on that list because it's present on the website already, so if it is, can we just take it out? Already there?
Yeah, I think so.
Change the website.
They can change it.
Yeah. Because I think it's important to put on the website what is relevant, and that's part of common conduct. So I think it's okay. Hey, man, we having two meetings, or what's going on? So is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, so I said that I think we can remove unknown from that, even though it's on the website, then we can have it removed from the website as well.
Oh, okay, because they were discussing whether that, the unknown was if the person who's submitting the complaint doesn't know what category it falls under.
But then right, but then the investigator or the police department will file it under one of those categories.
Yeah, so I think we should just take the unknown.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a point of clarification, that second category is coming from our complaint,
That we received.
from the complaints. When we get the complaints in, we kind of class them as initially what we think that they are based on what we've read. The first category comes from when the investigation is done and the allegations are actually determined.
So if I'm doing a complaint, I would pick one on the left, right-hand side.
Well, we would read the
you
complaint,
would,
and
right.
we would categorize the complaint. And that's just so we can know what kind of complaints are coming in, you know, kind of
To track them.
And that's how we assess it after we've read the complaint.
Right, okay.
But once it goes through the system and it makes it to you guys, that the investigator has now put in has done a deep dive
Right,
and put in a actual legitimate complaint.
right,
I mean, not complaint, allegation.
correct.
Curtis.
Yes. Okay, all right.
So I think another question will be, what will be the frequency that we will, like, once we start filling in this information, once cases start coming, the frequency of how we will present the data, how it will be analyzed, and the frequency of doing that. I think that's the next question. Do you wanna wait, do it quarterly? Do you wanna?
I think that, I'm sorry, that was my face. I think it'll be too much information, because there are so many categories, so we definitely don't wanna do it quarterly,
Okay.
but I don't know how often, that's just my opinion. Because
Okay.
it's a lot of information,
Yeah.
we don't wanna be overwhelmed and not see what we need to see,
Right.
that was just my opinion, sorry, guys.
Right, and I think even with this, that we have data, I mean, you can do pivot tables and things like that,
Yes.
so we can definitely run whatever we wanna run, so I think this is great.
This is the one where we would look at the trends too, isn't it? So we could look at it quarterly, so we have to do it so we can find out what trends we're seeing
And you could, like you said, you could, sort it based on a certain category, so you see all the ones that
Oh,
were.
Whenever we get that, you can definitely play around with it,
Yep.
and create data points for yourself to
Okay.
pull it out, and,
Everything.
yep.
So is this gonna be a static, like, I mean, is it gonna be on in our shared file?
We should be able to have access to it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for an example, if, one day somebody wanted to say, well, I wanted to see how many, ethics complaints there are, you'd be able to go to that and just drill down to all ethics complaints, and then you'd be able to drill down to each department and things like that. So the data is, I mean, once, and I'm sure Dr. Coleman, we can have a tutorial of how to pull some of that data and extract it, but I mean, it's really, really easy,
Yeah.
really, really easy,
So it'd be a database and you'd have
yeah.
The county's long-term goal is to get a one-source database
Mm.
for PAD, the ACC, and the AAC, and we are working on it.
Okay.
Does the county have any sort of, do they have any statistical programs like SPSS or SAS or?
I wanna see how many answers this.
I know what SPSS said, had to use it, SPSS had to use that in grad school.
Yes,
But,
yeah.
I'm familiar with
SAS and
the
Pamela are
statistical,
similar.
statistical something.
Yeah,
But I
software
don't know.
for statistical sciences, yeah.
Yeah, the county has a county stats program where they do the stats from all over the county, do
Okay.
some analysis. I can check and see if they have a statistical program.
Okay.
I like that.
All right, so great job, guys.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I really, really like that.
So, just for clarity, if there are any other categories you want to add, if you could send them to the chair or myself, if there's anything you want added to the legend, if you can send it to the chair, myself.
Well, I'm gonna correct that. From now on, anything that you want of staff will go through the chair. So send all your correspondence and everything that has to do with any request of, for staff, send it to the chair will let us know, and then we will reply back to the chair.
Then I'll respond back to them.
Of the reports that we have gotten so far, are there instances where a false statement is a allegation? That's pretty misconduct.
So that would fall under ethics. Yep, I think that would fall under ethics.
Would it be helpful if I email this to you guys to look over?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, and then, yeah. Okay.
Also, just add that, just want to double check the categories, because I have, just looking at what's online, there's bias-based profiling, but I don't see that on the list. So there's a couple categories that are on the website that aren't on this list. So just want to make sure those get in sync.
Bias right there, second from the bottom.
Okay, that's the same as the bias-based profiling, is the bias harassment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right, anything else? Yes, if you guys could send that out to everybody so we can kind of look at it. And then, maybe even put some test data in there. I know it's kind of hard, so that way we can just kind of play around with it. Give them to get used to testing it out. Nothing real, just some test stuff. Just don't use Kelvin Duvall as anything up there. So, all right, good. Really, really good job. Yep, that's it. How'd you like it, Mr. Jones? See, look it. How'd you like it?
Good.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Thank you, Tangi and Dr. Coleman again. Next on the agenda is, the 2023 annual report preparation. Ms. Niche, you have the floor, ma'am. Yes,
We
ma'am.
have a proposed outline, for the annual report. Just let me know when everybody's ready.
Yes, ma'am, ready?
Which one is it?
Oh, this one.
It says proposed annual report outline.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Now, this is just proposed, this is us just proposing to you. You can make whatever changes you want, suggestions, or deletions, but we're proposing that these be the categories. Now, somewhere down the line, Danny Bergamini agreed to do what is called a prologue and the history. And under that, we put that under the overview section. And we're going to, use some things from the old annual report, which is just gonna be a drop and load, those things are already done. But he's writing the prologue and history. As you can see, we've got overview, recommendation, highlights, case review and analysis, and, the resource section. We have 3 sections where we're hoping that, through your chair is hoping at least, that you guys will volunteer to take on. If you have some suggestions for additional sections or changes to what we presented, let us know now, because this is going to be your document. We're just trying to give you a base to start from.
And are you saying that you're looking for volunteers to prepare the report?
Yeah, these sections, like, Daniel has the overview.
Yeah.
The chair and Carlo will be doing the message from the chair and executive summary as leadership. Recommendations, we're looking for 2 volunteers to kind of take the recommendations and put them in some kind of a user-friendly format for, to present to the public. The legislative recommendations, the process and procedure recommendations that I think have come from the ACC, you're gonna get those from the, from the ACC, and some other things that you all talked about along the way, like a format, a standard format for presenting case information and some other things as well. And any recommendations from henceforward about policing and accountability.
Okay.
And then, on the highlights, we're looking for 3 volunteers to cover outreach activities and events, any, analysis of, not analysis, but summaries of trainings and conferences, the strategic plan process, our website, and then the case review and analysis, like we're talking with the data points and stuff. Dr. Coleman, we volunteered for that one.
Let me write her name right now.
So that's the one you wanna do, yeah. We were gonna write your name.
Man, you could have volunteered me, that's fine.
If we're volunteering now, can I volunteer for the recommendation section?
Okay.
I'd like to volunteer for the outreach and training conference strategic plan. Ooh, that's a lot.
Even though this
You're
is
in the highlights then, 'cause that's all one.
Highlights, I meant that,
Okay.
yeah.
So, real quick, I know this is proposed, but this is what we're going with, right?
Okay.
So we're just asking for volunteers.
Sure.
You said,
Highlights.
3, okay.
And Marcia has been voluntold.
Yeah.
To
We
do
knew
the,
she was
to
excited
collect
about
the
that.
resource documents and for the appendices to make sure all those documents are there and, and complete.
I'll volunteer for recommendation.
So we got Daniel and
Oh, okay,
Lafayette and
yes.
Massimo.
Yeah.
That one is done.
I think I sent it to you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
James, did you receive what I sent you?
Yes, he said yes.
Thumbs up.
Yes.
So did you got the outline?
Said he got it, thumbs up.
Yes, I received it.
We're missing 3 people.
Yep, so,
What's left? I'll take whatever's left.
We're missing.
it's 3 of them.
3 left.
No, I'm just joking.
Which one you want?
Yeah.
Which one, we're on highlights?
Do you want
Yeah, you
highlights?
could work with highlights with me.
Which highlights,
Which one is left? Hold up, which one?
Wait a minute.
Case review and analysis and highlights.
Oh,
Okay. Case review and analysis.
I'm gonna do, case review and analysis. Oh, I'm sorry, you go first.
You go first.
That's
No,
what
you
wanna do.
didn't.
That's fine.
Okay,
That's
go
great.
ahead.
That's
Put
fine.
down Mrs. Spring.
No, that's fine.
No,
Which
no.
one you doing that one,
Mrs.
case
Spring,
review?
no, I just,
You need
no.
to say case review, what's
Nope.
the highlights? Because it makes sense, you're with ACC too, you have a better insight.
You sure?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, okay.
So, Ms. Springs, where are you now?
I don't know.
She's picking. This is like
What's left?
Highlights, you can work with me.
highlights,
okay.
highlights.
Highlights.
What's the website about? Is that left?
That's just highlighting things we've done on the website, the changes.
You wanna be voluntold for that one too?
Okay. Oh, you mean 2. Hold on. Where am I at?
Okay, you said, okay,
Which one you doing? You do, we
She said
waiting
the
on Mr.
website.
O'Neill and Mr.
Website.
James.
Okay.
website.
I guess I could go with y'all with the highlights, I mean,
Highlights, okay. Highlights. Oh, I'm writing it, Mr. O'Neill.
Might make more than one, okay. I'm doing case review and help.
Dr. Coleman and I.
Actually, we only put 3, even though we got more people, so if you wanted to move the case thing, Mr. James can pick
You know, I don't wanna bump anybody off the field that wanna play. I'm gonna sit here on the bench and
If you really wanna do that other one, then
Yeah, you
he
can.
No,
could do
fine.
highlights.
You sure?
Yeah, he said, well, highlights, he's talking about what's going on the website and. am I
What's
doing-
the outreach, those things that you see from A to D.
Oh, from A to D.
Yeah.
See, that's why I said. She said from A to D.
Wait.
It's okay, you get another shot at it. Case
Yeah.
review
Yeah.
or the highlights.
Case review,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr.
I'll
James?
take it one.
That's why I said do a case review. So we can do that.
Mr. O'Neill chose me.
Case review and,
Oh, he's gonna be on highlights.
yeah, Mr. O'Neill chose, highlights.
Which one should go?
Case review.
Now, this report, as we all know, is due December 31st.
Not sure.
And so,
Say that again, I'm sorry, Denise.
this report is due December
Yes.
31st.
Yes,
And because it is a calendar year report, we will be working on it until the night before December 31st to capture anything that may happen.
that not, yeah, right.
That has to, that's one, unless, we talked about this before, changing, it says an annual report before December 31st. And you may make your annual report maybe your year end September 30th. Then you can get the annual, if it goes from October to September in terms of your reporting year, then you got 3 months to get a report out.
Okay,
But if you're trying to truly work on a calendar year going from January to December, then you have midnight on the 31st to still start to be collecting
got
data.
you.
So you have to have a cutoff.
Well, should we make it in conjunction with the fiscal year that we're using?
Well, I thought we discussed that. I thought we
Yeah.
said, like, everything else we're doing fiscal year, but the report goes by the calendar.
Correct.
I thought we had that, yeah.
Well, it says before, it says on or before the 31st of, December. Now, that's
Right.
kind of hard to do a calendar year report that's due on the 31st of the year, that's, the month the calendar year ends.
Right.
Well, we could say November.
You have
mean, have everything finished?
So here-
I don't think I understand it. It's like July, or what is it? Fiscal year ends,
It's June 30th.
30th, yeah.
July 1st, June 30th.
Yeah.
We have time.
And then we have to look at this too, when November comes, there are vacations, there's holidays. Hold on, everybody, can I get everybody's attention?
We gotta do some of this.
Excuse me for a second. Okay, so when we think about this, we have to understand that November and December are gonna be crowded with holidays and vacations and things like that. So I think, like Denise said, we need to try to give us some realistic expectations of meeting that. So I think, we need to decide, maybe not tonight, but, what is feasible, what we can do. So I think maybe we'll go ahead and start looking at some of this stuff, and then we can come back at the next meeting and figure out, okay, we can do it by this date, throw some dates out there, and choose at the next meeting.
I don't think this report is gonna be as easy as the last one,
Right.
but it's not gonna be hard either. I mean, they may not be a heavy lift to get it out a month before the end of the year, but next year, but going forward, you need to decide on a permanent basis what your reporting year looks like, so you can get a report out by December.
I think it'll be great, especially with the data that we're gonna start collecting now. It's gonna make it it's gonna be good. I like it. All right.
And now we need to put some timelines on, yeah, on some of this, who's gonna lead these, efforts,
So can we do this, can we send it out too, because I know Carlo's not here, Danny's not here, he had chose that, so at least just send it out to him and hopefully he can respond.
Danny?
No, Carlo,
Okay.
and I think that's all we're missing.
I thought you and he were working on the prologue and,
Danny Bergamini is working on the
executive
prologue.
summary.
But we don't have, Carlo is with,
We
Oh,
got,
that's
At the top.
at the, oh,
he's number one.
I can't read it.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
gotta do a little more
Okay.
outreach to put
So
some.
McDonald's, okay,
But-
and Danny's already got his, okay.
But, Mr. Chair, I did wanna go back to what, Ms. Hall said. If we could, we said on the action items, we were gonna put dates, so I would appreciate, getting dates.
So you wanna do that tonight?
Yeah, when people will, if, whatever y'all decide is the dates that y'all gonna stop by, when is it
Oh, okay.
gonna be?
So we can't put no.
I have said nothing, just then, did I? I'm sorry.
Did you see she left the trader, so.
When is it gonna be, when
The
are
cutoff?
these people gonna be responsible having this information
Ready.
to Denise so that it can be completed.
But-
Let's do the cutoff, let's do a cutoff date then, and then
Mhm.
do so it'll be two dates that we need to determine.
Well, I think you probably submit a draft before a final submission to everyone, so there's probably a couple submission days ahead of the final 31st.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's
No,
doable? Oh,
but
go
we
ahead,
need to
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was saying we need to figure out exactly what we're talking about when the year's ending, because we didn't decide that unless I missed something. So that's important, because we can't even begin to talk about the second date if we don't know what date we're working with,
I
right?
think we're too far into this year to be changing it from December this year. I was talking about going forward.
Okay, so
So
keep it
I
December.
think
Okay.
we're too close
So keep it December.
now to say that we're gonna have anything but December.
Okay.
So, couldn't we say over 31st, or what, I don't know, the 30th, end of October?
I'm thinking it's gonna have to be early that because of what Mr. Chair was saying about holidays, because if we do 31st, then you run into November,
Yep.
Thanksgiving, then you run into Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, I know staff, everybody's gonna be
Yeah,
taking
but
vacation.
I'm looking at some of these highlights here, just being honest. We got to do a little bit more outreach and activities before we do something, put something on the paper. Training and conferences, you know what I mean? I think we got two conferences we went to. I don't know how many trainings we went to yet, you know what I mean? I mean, we're still ongoing, I'm saying, but we can put down what we have. I guess the plan, the strategic plan, I know, that'll be done, and, you know, I'm just saying the first two is just problematic to me because we, ongoing process. You know, if we do the community outreach by, say, next month, I mean, in a couple more, 3 or 4, that's okay. But we have to look at that because we can't put it too quick and we ain't done none of this stuff. That's all I'm looking at.
Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. You all are gonna pick a date by which anything you've done by that date gets captured. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
all right.
So would that be, like, is that Mr. Chair, October 31st, like Mr. Neal said, or?
So, and again, when we get to October 31st, you're really going into November. So I'm thinking sometime in September, like Denise first said.
September's
I think, I was gonna say this, I think if we're gonna commit to if we're gonna commit to the fiscal year, I think we do that now, submit some kind of placeholder report for this year through the end, because if we say we do a calendar year now, we do something by December, but then we decide fiscal year next year, that's still only capturing half the year, then we're going from the point of the last
Right.
report to the next one.
Right.
So that would be 3 reports that essentially don't say much, because the first one didn't say much. This one would be, you know, we're just getting our legs under us, and the next one would be 6 months after we actually are rolling. Or we could commit to the fiscal year and have essentially a year plus to collect data and have a extremely solid report by next June.
But you have to do one this year.
Yeah, no, and
Right.
so that's what I'm saying, some kind of placeholder, some kind of, you know, in the meantime, you know, we are making we're doing this by fiscal year, and so we're submitting this report for this year to let you know what we got going on. Maybe not as in-depth as what we will end up submitting yearly, starting in that first fiscal year submission.
Because,
But otherwise, I think we're gonna run into this timing problem consistently for the next couple reports. So I think if we commit to the fiscal year, that has to be done now. Otherwise, we keep submitting reports that are only encompassing a couple months worth of data.
yeah, because November will be a year, I'm just talking, forget about. And that's when we first got our first meeting and everything. And can't we make the report is that, you know, that this is our first full report, and this is what we have
So
done.
we started in November, but I think with the date that,
And we, yeah, we
We
did
haven't
it.
actually started doing stuff, though. We don't actually have, like,
Right.
recommendations to make yet, because we
Yeah,
haven't
right.
started looking at cases yet.
Right.
That's the point I'm making.
Right.
Like, the actual substantive work hasn't begun yet, still. And it's about to be September, it's about to be December, it's about to be November. So I think,
But most of the stuff on here, I mean, overview can be done now. Recommendations, you all have done most of it, right? I'm just trying to think that y'all not gonna have too many case reviews yet, I don't think. And the highlights, we do have highlights for some outreach, some training, the strategic plan and the website.
So,
So most of this stuff, right,
so one of
is
my,
doable.
one of the things we could do is, we could make number 6 data and analysis, right? So it doesn't lock us into case reviews.
Yeah,
Then we can include what's relevant
yeah,
for right now.
yeah.
Maybe it's just summaries of what we've collected, not recommendations and trends. We don't have that yet. So maybe we just provide what we have been able to collect, and it's data.
Right.
And if we have any ability to analyze anything, maybe we do that. Maybe we say 75% of cases were this or that. I think there's an opportunity for us to do check the box things. We've done this, and list stuff that we've done. Maybe we just aren't in a position to do a lot of trending right now, but we can just say, here are summaries and lists of things we've accomplished this year. Whatever date we put on it, it's fine. But I think even going up to December, if we're just listing stuff, we'll have that.
Yeah.
We can write the meat of the narrative early. And then we can fill in the blanks all the way up until the last minute, because that's just filling in the blanks.
And most of this stuff is already done anyway.
Yeah, and then I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's about 89 cases that have been reviewed to date by the ACC. So,
Wow.
yeah,
That's impressive.
yeah, that's a lot,
How often do you meet?
once a week.
Mr. Chair, can we then say by November, how much time does Denise need?
That's what I was asking Denise.
To get it from this
What
group.
date is you looking at?
I was not looking at the date, because I was not looking at writing this report.
No, we're not saying that,
I don't compile all this, you give me your part, you give me your part.
I
Right.
know, when, what date?
but what is
We
date?
said what date do
Yeah.
you need it by?
Mid-November? Based on what you were saying, mid-November?
That's what I was gonna say, yeah, November 15th,
So I'm gonna put in the action items November 15th.
Okay.
November 15th.
So that's, November 15th is our section written, ready to go, and to Denise for final put together.
Draft.
And then it'll be reviewed by you, us collectively?
Yes, that's correct. Yep, it'll be a draft, just compile it, put it out, send it out, we'll review it, say yes or no, make changes or anything, and then we'll be ready, yep.
And if you're doing highlights, write it in a way where you know, all right, something's happening in November, so I'm writing it so that we can just add that in.
Sure.
I wrote Mr. Melton under there too, you know.
I already got mine.
You have recommendations, right?
Since Ms. Springs moved, there's only 2 of us on highlights, unless somebody else.
I thought Mr. James
You
got
got
there.
Mr.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
James don't highlight.
Okay.
James.
I said highlights too, y'all forgot me?
No, you and I already said this, you
Yeah.
already said
I
We
have
got
Mr.
4 on there.
Great, no, I moved.
No, hold on,
Where you
Mr. James has to put his hand up, yes, sir.
All right, I think we may have overcome this. I'm writing down some notes, but I think that we can separate our data from our outreach, meaning our data can maybe run up until September 30th. I think we should go back to maybe December 22nd. I think the last report ended December 21st, 22nd. I just don't want there to be a gap if we start January 1st. I'm just losing a couple data points there. So I think it's realistic to do September 30th as a cutoff date, but the outreach could go up until that draft is due. I would strongly recommend having everything done by the 1st of November so that we can have a draft to review at our first of the month meeting in November. And if we have a second one, it can be done and approved by the second meeting in November. So that December, it can go through any other review processes. But I agree with that, as well as Mr. Melton. It's probably data and analysis as opposed to recommendations that could probably take a little while longer to develop. And then just keep in mind also, Mr. Jones, I think it was a great idea, but I was a little weary if we change it, that we've tied our annual report to so many of our strategic plan goals that we said, oh, we'll accomplish this through the report. So we've got to make sure that we address those things through the report, since that's what we've kind of tied it to in our strategic plan.
Okay, so that would change the date to November 9th?
No, date is November 15th.
Okay.
I'm sticking with that.
Is that a meeting date right there, the 15th? Is that a Wednesday, I'm saying?
I don't believe that it is.
No, it isn't. The meetings are on the 9th and the 22nd.
Of November?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe they were allowing us.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to mention
Well, it's not-
that
it's
the
not-
action.
Hold on.
Money's not your Wednesday.
Hold on. We need one voice, please. Yes.
I just want to make note that the action item list is running list. A lot of the highlights and things that we've done can probably come from that as well. I think we can come.
Okay.
Some action items.
Mhm.
Not everything, but I'm sure, like the outreach, when we completed an outreach, that's,
Yeah, that's something that we can put on, right. Okay.
So I think we need to harvest what we can from that, action item.
All right, so November 15th is the date.
Meeting in
Mrs. Bryant just gave it, yeah, she just said it.
oh,
Yeah, we are going.
So that's before Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
well, that's perfect, 'cause the 15th people will get it,
Yeah.
and then can talk about it on the
Yeah.
22nd.
Right. All right, so,
Wait a minute, that's awesome.
This is when they get the stuff too.
that was it. Denise,
No, you were right.
is that,
8th and 22nd.
Yeah, 22nd.
oh,
She was asking you about, did this bump up against NACO?
oh, okay. Oh,
And I don't think it matters either way, because that's when you all are getting stuff too.
okay. So, yeah, that was it. You had the floor, so I didn't know if you,
No, I do have, while I have the floor, and I know this is not on the agenda, but I think we should have put on it, I gave you, just as an announcement, we gave you a conference report. It's a report on what we did when we attended the conference, for the the Maryland Municipal League, conference. And you also have a police accountability feedback form. You also wanted us to do a draft form. I tried to get IT to put the draft actually in an environment where we could see how to operate, but they are swamped, so they're not gonna be able to do it, so we just now giving you a hard copy. You don't have to make any comments now, because I know Calvin wants to keep the meeting moving, but, you can give Calvin your feedback on this. I will send everybody an electronic copy of it.
can you see?
Oh, wait, let me get another.
Yeah, there you go. No, I'm good.
Is there an extra one on there? Is that one?
On the police accountability form.
That's the draft.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
So this
It will be web-based.
This is going to be web-based, and then, Calvin also suggested that we have a QR code that would link to this form. And I've asked IT, I put in a request to IT to do all this in a draft environment so we can actually see how it works real time. But this is the draft that I put together on the things. I didn't think the form needs to be very long or drawn out. But this is my, first stab at what this form, should capture.
Okay. Okay. Can you email that to us, too?
Yeah, mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Can you put the ride-along form, just the form we chose to leave, we go ride-along?
Okay. Want to do that. So, Denise, was that it for you?
That's it for me.
It? Okay, cool. So let's, Marva Jo, you wanted to review.
Yeah, can I get you all to look back? I looked back at the board members present and absent for July 26th. Ms. Springs, I don't see your name on here. Unless I'm just missing it.
She wasn't here.
Right, but it doesn't show absent.
Oh, right.
No, the top it says members present. Remember, the heading says members present.
Yeah, but I would ask that we put one that shows who's absent.
Absent.
And it be excused.
So you want, okay.
Look at it so much, but everybody should be.
I have to put you on blast.
I'm trying to see about.
There's two people, you can put Miss, something.
Miss Ridley?
Really wasn't here too.
Oh, yeah.
You talking about last meeting, what you talking about?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna make that now?
No, we're asking that these minutes be changed to reflect that, or do you want to change going forward?
No, I would ask that they reconsider the minutes and
So do I need
add
to,
it.
make a motion? I move that the minutes be revised to reflect those absent as well as those present.
Motion made.
To reconsider, well, I will put it in there.
Oh, reconsider.
Reconsider and then add.
Three people, wasn't it, absent?
well,
I wasn't at the last meeting.
oh, okay, yeah,
That's what I'm saying, it was
okay.
clear.
So the motion, well, we'll get that, but the motion is to reconsider, to add those that were absent. Was seconded by Mr. Jones? No.
I think Mr. O'Neill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Danny, I think Danny V was on the, wasn't he on virtual?
You weren't here.
Wasn't he on virtual?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 'cause he had the cat on it.
Right, but
wasn't
hold on. But, so, we can get those names here, so it's, Mrs. Springs, Mrs. Ridley, and Dr. Coleman.
Then we gotta change it, and virtual was the two Dannys.
Okay, Danny Jones and Danny Bergamini.
That was, okay, that was it.
We just have to add Danny Bergamini.
I don't believe
He was-
Bergamini was there virtually.
Oh, he was not? Oh, okay.
He was not.
Thank you, sir.
Last week or the week
So
before?
he was absent, so we had 4 that was absent?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
You might be right.
Hold on, and Danny. Thank you, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yes, I was something,
Okay.
I was looking for you to, I thought you had said something.
So we had that, it was motioned by, Mrs. Bryant, and it was seconded by Mr. O'Neill. So, go around and,
So do we need to?
yep. Oh. So we can vote as the group, and then I'll just ask. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay,
Thank you for the,
I think I was right.
thank you.
That's the 12.
All right, so, next up, thank you for that. Thank you, Marvin, thank you, Denise. Announcement. So we're moving on, we don't even have to take a break, so we're gonna move on through this. So I have some announcements, but I'm going to give the floor to, Mrs. Bryant. You had the coffee chat,
Oh,
so can you give us?
I had a family emergency on
Okay.
Wednesday, and I
Sorry to
wasn't
hear
able
that.
to attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's resolved. I wasn't able to go on my vacation either, so.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear, okay, thank you.
But I will be, absent on the 20th.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Moving on, we have, I'd like to move to Dr. Coleman. She has an announcement. That's right, yes, no, I'm just joking. Dr. Coleman, had an experience, so I want her to share her experience of her, I'm not gonna even say what it was.
I went on a ride-along Friday night,
What time?
County Police, 11:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m.
so that sounds fun.
It was very fun, I'm sorry, it was, on Friday, this past Friday, and so we were in Sector G, so I want you to remember that, and I rode with Officer Goodwin, and in that time, there were 15 calls from 11:30 to 2:30, and out of that, there were 8 carjackings. Oh my gosh. And one of the carjackings was a young man who lived in Forestville with his parents, and he was getting gas, he was at some party in Southeast, and these guys rode up and boxed him in, and when he was getting in the car, they pistol whipped him, they hit him with the head of the gun, so his head was, messed up, and he was quite shaken up, obviously, but, so there were quite a few carjackings, so it was a very exciting night, and then there was a call, shots fired, so they took me to the fire station and left me there. I wanted to go, I was like, they're gonna be like, no, we're not gonna be in a chief's office because you wanted to go. But then he came back about 15 minutes later, so, but I was just like, I know that carjackings are like, they exponentially increased, but the fact that there were so many.
Did you take 15?
Well, there was 15 server calls total, and then there were 8 carjackings.
In that sector?
In that sector alone.
What district is that?
That's 8. Yeah, Westphalia, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you know, one of the things that I think, we talked about it with the car, because of the youth, because of the way the court system is set up, it is allowing them to be able to do that and not have the same.
Well, they've changed the state laws is what's happened, and so the problem is that state laws around the juvenile code needed to be changed, but they didn't, I think what they should have done is sort of time phased it in so they could put the infrastructure in to provide, more community-based services, because there was a young man who was about 14, and he was sitting in a car that did not have any tags, it turned out to be stolen. And so they were going to arrest him, and so I talked to him, and I was like, it was 2 o'clock in the morning, his child was out, and I was like, just asking general questions like, who do you live with? And he said his mother and his grandmother, and I was like, well, basically, where are they? It's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're 14. And he was like, his grandmother was really sick, and he literally said to me, total stranger, I don't know where my mother is, I never know where she is. It was very telling, and the reason why he's out at 2 o'clock in the morning sitting in a stolen car. And he was scared. He was very, very scared. It was, and I just had a little chat with him, like, you just need to make better choices if you can, because this is a path that you do not want to go down, particularly as a young black male. So, and then I told him not to say anything until he got a lawyer. Like, I don't care what they say. I'm like, they're gonna tell you that you can go home if you just confess, and I said, do not do it. I was like, you watch the law, you watch TV and see the movies, right? Don't say anything. He said, they're really gonna say that? I thought that was in the movie. I was like, no. Nothing. So it was quite a fun night. The officer was great. His name was Officer Goodwin. He was great, and they let me get out at every stop. He asked me though, he's like, are you okay? I was like, I am standing right there beside you. We went in people's houses. I was ready.
Wow.
So it was really good. So I want to do it again, and I want that officer.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you feel threatened at any point?
I did not. It was so funny because when we were at the young man's house, he lived with his parents who got carjacked in Southeast. His mother's like, well, who are you? Because you don't have a uniform on.
So y'all had to go into D.C., you mean?
Huh?
You went into D.C.?
No, he was carjacked in D.C.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then they bought him, the police actually bought him home.
Wow.
So the ambulance, they just called the ambulance because he was bleeding, he needed stitches, because they beat him with the butt of the gun.
The weapons, wow.
So, he was talking about his car, and I was like, a car can be replaced, you cannot.
Right,
It's
wow.
beautiful, So, yeah, but his mother was funny. She was like, and who would you be? Because you don't have a uniform on. And they're like, she was not sleeper.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was a couple domestic situations. We got called to the same house twice,
In the
within
same night?
45 minutes.
Wow, really?
First, the husband called, he left the house, and then the wife called. And so that was like a really sticky situation, because we had to do it with another young lady. It was,
Okay, so was there, and did you notice the interaction between the police and the citizens?
Good question.
In terms of, was there any behavior?
They did really, really well, because there was this young man who was standing out in front of a whole lot of businesses, and he was clearly high on lots of things. And so the businesses called to come and get him. So when the two officers, Officer Goodwin and Officer Thompson, showed up, they were trying to talk to him to try to get him to go home, because he was like, I live around the block. I'm surprised he could get that out, because he could barely stand up. And so they tried to get him to go home, and they were so good. Like, they didn't, handle him roughly. They really, really talked to him, and so he did end up leaving. The problem is that he came back. He went home, and he came back, and so by the time he got back, someone had beaten him severely. So by the time we got back there, they had to call 911 because, and of course, no one was talking about who did it, but, they had beaten him by the time we got back. So he's gonna feel that when he came down from his extremely inebriated state. He probably didn't feel it too much then, but.
Young guy, older guy?
He was young. He looked to be in his early 20s, late teens, early 20s.
So they was nice because you was there?
Maybe they were. They were on their best behavior because I was there, but their interactions with citizens, and there was an elderly gentleman who was carjacked. He was getting gas, and they came up and put a gun to the back of his head, and so took his car, and he was clearly shaken up, and they were very, very kind. And they have a specialized unit, so as soon as there's a carjacking, they call
That
the
unit,
unit,
okay.
that unit to come out, and
Okay.
so,
They were busy that night, huh?
they were, oh
Was it
my
the
gosh.
Wawa Roy Crane?
It was in an Exxon, on Marlboro Pike.
Okay.
So what I meant was the other way, from the citizens,
Oh.
police officer, that interaction.
Yeah, they were fine, the most, like, they pulled the guy over, 'cause he, had his headlight, one of his headlights was out, and he's like, I didn't even know, 'cause it was an older SUV, so he's like, I didn't even know the headlight was out. He was very, like, respectful, and
Mhm.
they just were like, just get it fixed, and, and he was like,
On his way.
this is an example where we could have cited him, but they were like, we're just not gonna do that. And then we got called to a loud house party, so we would get there, we're driving around, he's like, do you hear anything? I was like, no. So we ride around, and there are people, it's like 5 people sitting on a balcony, and you could barely hear them talking, let alone.
Wow.
Like, it literally, it was a house party, and it was 5 people sitting on, I could see a bottle of wine, because we were really close. So he was like, you think I'm gonna go up there and tell those people, like.
That feel our
I don't
neighbor
care.
stuff.
Yeah, like, and then
Okay.
they kept calling, because they were like, we see the police riding by, but they're not doing anything. So I could hear it on the radio, and he was like, we're not gonna do anything, because they're not disturbing peace, they're not being disorderly, we're not gonna do anything. But the citizen interactions, they were really good. So I
Okay.
don't know, like Mr. O'Neill said, if it was because for my benefit, or,
That's how they act, so
You
we're
know,
gonna assume that's how they act.
that we're gonna assume that that's how they were. And so we talked about a lot of that, like how people assume that it's always, the person interaction, or that the police are always gonna arrest people, but they didn't, it was the 14-year-old boy was the only one that they arrested, and I begged them not to, but they.
But did you see a lot of younger kids out at that time of night?
No,
Other than
not
that
really.
14-year-old?
Other than the 14-year-old, he was the youngest.
Okay.
Everyone else was in 20s, like their mid-20s, early 20s
Wow.
range,
So
but
were
he was
they,
the only one.
were they able to apprehend any of the carjackers?
They got 2 of them. Because one was a black Kia, because Kias are being
Yeah,
all over the
Kia.
place. So they got the one in the Kia, and then there was another Lexus, and they were able to get that one,
Wow.
arrest that one.
Good.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. It was fun. I was
See?
You ready?
No, I'm just saying,
I
I
know,
gotta get my
you're
time.
right.
I've already said that they're very excited, did I say?
You did. You said that.
They
You
are
said you
very
loved it.
excited.
That was your
Hello?
Ms.
And they said
Franklin.
the volume of calls happens earlier, but the more serious stuff happens that late at night. So, they're like, if you had come through the earlier shift, it was just, they had he showed me, it was like 42 calls, it was nuts.
Oh, my Lord.
And so, but this was only 15, but it was carjacking.
Right,
It was
right.
guns
Wow.
and shootings, and
Wow.
so, that was all the fun, it was all the fun. I was like, 'cause I wasn't so tired. I said, when did you get off? He said 5:30. I said, oh, I don't know if I can do it for 3
I can't
hours.
hang.
I was like, 'cause I've already been up since I, worked. I was like, if I stay up, I'll be up
Y'all
the
ain't get
whole
no
day.
coffee or nothing? Y'all ain't get no coffee?
No.
I gotta get me-
donuts?
No.
Oh, they don't like that anymore. They call it a face shoot.
What time you say, 11 to 2:30?
11 to 2:30.
So his shift began at 11?
Mhm.
Yeah, he wanna give me some coffee.
Yeah, and he was working overtime, so he had been working since
Wow.
Friday morning.
Everybody they trying to make it.
Wow, okay.
And so he was not gonna get off till 5:30, so he said, I will be working almost a day.
Mm.
I was like, how are you even functioning with this
And
way?
that's the where's the station at?
It's Upper Marlboro.
The police plaza, yeah, in Upper Marlboro. That's off of
That's where you
Pennsylvania
met him
Avenue.
at, or? Okay.
Yeah, that's it, Presidential Park.
Presidential Park,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
in Pennsylvania Avenue, right.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You know where Down Ross Road is? Powerhouse.
We'll pull it up,
Okay. Yeah. So it was good.
Thank you.
It was good, it was good. I'm going back.
Okay. Ms. Springs is too, she's ready. Ms. Springs, she is ready.
He asked why I chose that one. I was like, because either between this and, more towards southeast, this is gonna be the most exciting one, so I knew that.
Oh, my goodness.
That was strategic, and that's kicking.
So,
My-
then would we, I'm going back to the report now.
Okay.
Would we include them in the outreach activities,
You mean as far as that reporting?
the ride along?
No, I think that's just for educational purposes. So, but
You know what I mean? In the-
Yeah.
in the
Yeah, I
yearly
think because
report.
if everybody does one, it'd be too much to put in there, right?
No, not the whole thing, just say that we done
Yeah.
Some
how
believe-
many?
10
But-
out of the, 9 people, or 11 people.
Yeah, well, whoever has that group, they can do that part, yeah.
I'm just saying, that's.
So it's really good to have the committee report, I mean, the feedback from the conferences, et cetera, and this kind of.
Right.
So that form, are we gonna still talk about the form,
Yep, I was waiting for Dr. Coleman, and she was so excited.
She was.
She wanted to head off the meeting, but I was like, hold on. So, thank you, Dr. Coleman, wow, that was good. I volunteered Mrs. Springs to ride with you. So, thank you for that, and then whoever
So
else,
this was Prince George's.
excuse me, hold on, so whoever else has one, you guys can do the same thing, come back, I think sharing that information would be great. I plan on trying to do one as well. So, moving on next to the next, Tangi, did you have anything?
Yes, I do have a few things to share with the board, but just to piggyback off of the ride-along that, Dr. Coleman went on. So I will be working as your liaison to get you to do your ride-alongs, and I do have some data points, I know we like data here. So when you do put your report together, you can say, for instance, that we did 3 ride-alongs with PGPD, we did 4 with Chevrolet Police or High School Police or something like that. You're gonna have the name of your officer. When you guys went over the strategic plan, you said at least 1 ride-along, up to 2. So then we're going to also start time, how many hours did you do? So cumulatively, you can say the PAB did this many hours in ride-along. So what I've done is I've created a Police Accountability Board ride-along form, so you can capture that data. If there's anything that you see on there that you want added, just let the chair know, and he'll, send that to staff. So when you do finish your ride-along, it doesn't have to be anything cumbersome. You can fill that out, write it out, or type it out, and then take a picture, send it to me, and then I'll plug it in here, and then we'll have that form done.
Can you, move the screen so we can see the other fields there?
So, we have our board member, we have the number, the date of your ride-along, the law enforcement agency that you went with, the officer's name, the jurisdiction, the start time, the end time, the total number of hours, the number of calls you responded to, the types of calls for services, I didn't even think about, you might be 15 calls in. If there's any notes and any recommendations. Another thing that I think I heard the board say early on is you wanna, I don't wanna say diversify, but you wanna keep in mind that you have smaller municipalities that are going to, differ for bigger municipalities. So when you're thinking PGPD, that's the largest one in the county, their needs and their, calls for service might be different than, let's just say, Landover Hills or Cottage City Police Department. So when you are, considering what police department you wanna ride with, you may wanna consider looking at multiple.
Okay.
So you could do more than 2, and, if you wanna let me know tonight, or just send me an email when you're ready to go. In our PAB Teams folder, there is a waiver for PGPD, and, there is an application that you have to fill out as well. So I do wanna send a shout out to, or just recognize, Major Ricker in PGPD, because he has been very helpful getting us, to the right people, in PGPD to streamline the process. So I'm really thankful for that. If there's any municipalities that you would like to work with, I will contact them, because I do believe that Denise, was at our PCA-PDC meeting, recently, and asked our, municipalities if you guys could go on a ride-along, and I don't think we got any, rejections there. Okay, so there's that part. So moving on, a couple months ago, PGPD allowed me to, attend one of their administrative hearings. And this is under the LEOBR, so for anyone who's not familiar with that acronym, it's the Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. So this predates the Police Accountability Board. So as you guys are interviewing candidates for the Administrative Hearing Board under PAB, under HB 670, it may be helpful if you attend one of these hearings. I thought it was, exceptionally good, because you get an idea of the types of testimony that's coming, the types of cases, maybe the type of juror that you may wanna have. I went in person, but they've also have a virtual option.
Okay.
So I know that Mr. or Vice Chair, Sanchez was able to jump into one last week. So our next, PGPD's next trial board is September 5th. And that's virtual. You can also go in person. If you would like to go, just let me know if you want to attend virtually or if you want to go in person.
I'd like to attend.
And pencil that in, because these things get canceled all the time.
They will cancel the day before, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you email that to us, too?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have a time, Tangi, or is it September 5th, do we have a time, or is it just whenever?
It starts usually at 9 a.m. That's a good question.
Okay.
I believe Hyattsville has one coming up in October, but, I don't have that date yet. And again, hearing dates are subject to change, cancel, and again, this may be helpful with your administrative hearing, board candidate selection. Any questions there?
No, ma'am.
Okay? The next one is an officer of equal rank training, and this is also for the administrative hearing board. PGPD, allowed me to go to their officer of equal rank training. They are training all of their, officers for PGPD to prepare to sit on boards under the new HB 670. And it's 1 hour, and I asked if our board could come if, you guys are available. So their last training is September 6th at 10 a.m., and it's in Landover. And you would just, be a person in the crowd. This is their training. They are gonna allow us to be there. But I do believe that this is the closest, to MPTSD training, the Police Training Standards Commission training. This is the closest that you're gonna get to it. So, a lot of the things that the officer's gonna be looking for in this training is gonna be what the civilian is looking for. I thought it was really insightful.
And you said September 10th?
September 6th
Oh, 6th.
at 10
10
a.m.
a.m.
I can send all this to you.
Yes, please. Thank
Can we
you.
respond to you if we want to,
Yes.
or do we go through the chair?
No, I say go directly to Tangi.
It's okay to
Yes,
go.
yes.
Okay.
And, this will be reflected in our minutes for this. Okay, so, you said this is the last one, is that the last one this year?
Yeah, they've been doing this for all year. They've been
Okay.
or since July. No, they've been doing it for a while.
Okay.
So this is gonna be the last one that they're having. I'm not sure if it's this year
Or period?
or period. Because I think that they've trained everybody that they needed to train.
I can contact the state and ask.
Okay.
Well, it's not the state, it's PGPD. Are you talking about, this is through Sergeant Chandler?
Yeah, but it's Office of Equal Rank Training, right?
Right, but this is PGPD's Officer of Equal Rank Training, and, Sergeant Chandler is the one who's over it.
So either way, we can find out if they'll have subsequent
Yeah.
ones moving
When I
forward.
send out the email, I'll add that. So I think we're
Okay,
really
additional,
question.
okay.
So the next thing is, there's a Citizens Police Academy. I know that Ms. Ridley graduated recently. Yay. And just in case anybody was interested in attending, I just wanted to do some research for you guys. The next session is going to be September 18th through December 18th. Classes are from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the RSVP date is September 8th. And I printed out this package of the application and just the date, and that's on, the table over there.
Are you picking up on
So
that?
if you're interested in attending, or if you know somebody else who might be interested in attending, I don't think that this is board,
Related. Yeah.
related. This will be on your personal.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, the information is over there. Okay, that's it for
That's
me.
it? That's great, thank you
Well,
so.
enough, Tangi.
Yeah, right, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
This,
Mr. O'Neill.
Oh.
this is a little different than that. That's a little different than this, than the actual sheet, because I think you got,
Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
that is different.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
You said Mr. James has a question?
No, he had to leave.
Oh, he left, okay. Okay, thank you. Did you, okay. Sorry.
You gonna miss-
So, okay. So, that was it, thank you, Tangi, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, that's who, yeah, Denise.
I just wanted to let you all know that the AHB members that you all appointed, as well as the ACC members you all appointed, will take an oath tomorrow.
Oh.
There is no real swearing-in ceremony like you all have, because they're not truly county executive appointees, but they will take an oath tomorrow night here at 5:30, if
Okay.
anybody's interested. and coming by and meeting your cities.
Okay.
Who are the AHB folks that made it? Do you remember?
Mr., I can't remember his first name, Mr. Lawson.
Yes.
I can't remember, Reginald Lawson, Leslie Canute, Jana Parker, and, James Free.
Thank you.
And then your ACC appointees from a while back were Cardell Montague and Serenity Garnett.
Okay. Thank you, Denise. Yep. All right, that was it. Okay. So, next up, I just have, one quick thing I want to say, before we move on. I know that there was a concern about the video from, a previous meeting. Office of Information Technology has been contacted. They were aware of the glitch. They corrected it. It took them a while, but it's a glitch that happened. They corrected it, and everything should be good to go now. So moving forward, there was nothing done by staff. There was nothing done by leadership. It's a glitch. OIT found it, took care of it, and so sometimes those things happen. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to thank staff because, they were so quick at responding.
That night.
That night. And they were very quick at responding and going to OIT and looking at it and sharing it on that night. And I want to say unequivocally another thank you, because when they looked at it, it was clear that what was sent to OIT was the full, meeting. But the congratulations is for the timeliness and quickness of their response to address it, and I wanted to say thank you
Yeah.
specifically to the staff.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I mean, they jumped on it that night.
That night.
Before the meeting was over, they had already sent the email that night.
Woo-woo.
Right, so, again, thank you. So,
Question, was OIT already aware of it before we raised the concern, or like, it was once we raised the concern?
once we raised the concern, they took care
Well,
of it.
I'm not clear though, you said that's the full meeting, but there was a glitch.
There was a glitch in the transferring of the meeting when they uploaded it.
We don't
Exactly.
have control of
Right.
the YouTube channel, they do.
We
So
only
they
do
have
it
to
to post the
convert
link.
it, yeah, they have to convert the videos to post it to YouTube. I
Yep.
send it to them from Zoom.
They posted it and they sent us the link to the post, and we put the link on our website. We don't post the video.
Oh, okay, so you had the full video.
Yeah,
But
we just
the
don't
whole
have the
thing was
capability of posting it.
They
They-
received the whole.
Right, we,
Yeah.
so from this standpoint, this body and administration did everything the correct way.
Okay.
OIT had an issue that we brought to their attention that was raised, and they took care of it.
Okay, great.
They took care of it. I just wanted to make sure we stated that, got that on the record, because I don't want people to think that anything was being done nefariously or maliciously with intent. So we want to make sure that that's on the record and stated. So, that being said, next up, I got, oh man, on my agenda, it says something that I kind of look forward to, but I don't know.
You bad.
I'm sitting next to, no, I'm just joking. I'm sitting next to somebody who's probably gonna make some type of motion. I don't know.
I move that we, end the meeting.
Wow. Motion to adjourn. Well, before I do that, is there anybody that'd like to say anything from admin? About anything? Okay, you got all your announcements, that's just, do we have anybody, I see that Mr. Bennett is there. Mr. Bennett, thank you for joining, sir. Is there anything you'd like to say at this time?
No, I just want to thank the board again for all the service. Also, just know that I'm working on getting you guys into PGPD training, some of the shoot houses and some of those things, so you can experience real-time officer activities in terms of going into scenes and encountering potential suspects, et cetera. So I'm working with training to get you guys to flow through those processes, so you can see real time some of the stresses that officers go through. So that again can help you with your decisions and your recommendations that you make to the police departments. But again, thank you all for your service. I appreciate all of you, and Godspeed.
Thank you, sir. All right. Motion was made by Mrs. Springs, seconded by Mrs. Ridley to adjourn. All in favor to adjourn the meeting say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, unanimous, meeting adjourned at 8:16 p.m.
Thank you all for the